Hi there, my name is Wayne Hedlund, and today we're going to be talking about what I would consider to be the three most important best practices for utilizing the online project management tool, Asana. Now, these best practices are very important to me. I think that as I've worked with various clients and individuals who are using Asana, I've realized that there's a piece that has been missing for a lot of teams. And so we're going to discuss that right now and then dive into these three seemingly simple but oftentimes not very underutilized best practices that I believe can revolutionize how this tool, Asana, is being utilized throughout the organization. As a matter of fact, if you can grab hold of these three best practices, I have a feeling that it can greatly increase momentum, greatly increase productivity and efficiency, both individually and as teams, and hopefully increase revenue, increase customer satisfaction, and help everybody feel like you have more synergy and ability to get things done as a team. So these three best practices are hugely important. Now, to set up the stage for what we're doing and why, let me just explain something that I have come to the realization about with Asana over the years. Many organizations and individuals see Asana as a project management platform. And it certainly is. Asana itself, if you go to their website, they talk about the project management tool that they are and how effective and efficient it is to, implement projects. So Asana is a project management tool. But what I've discovered is organizations lean into that and they forget that there's another whole side of Asana. Sometimes I'll tell people it's like a double-sided coin. On the one side is project management, and we focus on that and we make sure it's working. But we need to also focus on the other side, the other big piece of Asana for teams to be able to come together and do what they need to do. I like to call it the Asana Engine. So in an engine, in particular, perhaps maybe a transmission or something like that, there are a bunch of gears that kind of work, and these gears go round and round, and they connect up, right, with other gears. And when the one gear that's moving connects with the other gear, that creates engagement. Now we have movement happening and we have momentum happening, but it happens because these gears come together. So if we think of Asana as having two big gearboxes, and one gearbox has to engage with the other gearbox, and if it engages well and efficiently, and it's all well oiled and running, then now we've got great momentum. Now we're moving this vehicle down the road, and we're getting the things done. We're reaching the objectives we want. We're hitting the goals that we want, and everyone's happy. So the first set of gears is this gear of project management, building the workflows and the pipelines and the systems in place so that they're optimal and they're running efficiently, and we've got automations and hopefully not too much room for human error. And that's the project management gearbox, as it were. Now we need to connect with the other side. What is that other side? Personal productivity. Asana is a tool that is designed to help individuals, single people on your team, organize and prioritize and triage their tasks and their activities that they have, and hopefully do it in such a way that they individually feel empowered to prioritize the things that are important to them and get them done. The problem that we have in organizations is oftentimes we're so focused on the project management side that we haven't provided training, we haven't provided best practices, and we haven't engaged organizationally some simple rules of thumb that if we all engage them well, then it allows this other gearbox of personal productivity for everybody to function as well. And now when they come together, we're moving forward. For a lot of organizations, it's false starts. We get started, but then it's kind of, the momentum gets lost. Or we're moving a little bit, but we really should be moving a lot faster. We should be having a lot more efficiency in what we're doing. And it's because of this side. So let me talk to you about the three most important best practices. Super simple. But with that understanding, with that foundation in place, let's see why they are important. So three first best practices. The first best practice is actually going to be Very simple. And I'm using a demo workspace. I'm logged in as my friend Fred Flintstone here just for a little bit of some humor. But the first best practice that I'm going to talk about has to do with how we build tasks inside of Asana. If we all follow the same rules, then it's going to create some more efficiency. Then those gears are going to engage well. Generally speaking, tasks can be broken up into 4 different categories. We've got actionable tasks. These are tasks where something is going to need to be done. Something needs to happen. There's action involved. Someone needs to do something. And of course, that's the bulk of the tasks that we're putting inside of Asana. The second kind of task are going to be reference tasks. This is a task where, someone might write a task out, but the point of the task really isn't to get something done. It's to provide information or data. For instance, someone might write out in a task somewhere in a project, they might just say budget. Or they might say location. And the point of that is when you open up the details of that task, it's going to share the information about the location for that particular task is associated with. Or budget, maybe it would have 5 line items or an attachment with an Excel document or some other kind of report that just shares what the budget is. It's an informational reference task. And then we have milestones, which are obviously hugely important, especially as we dive into some of the insights and reporting features with Asana to help us kind of navigate what's going on big picture for various projects, and then of course approvals. These are the different kinds of tasks that we have. So let's talk about actionable tasks, because the fact is the personal productivity side of Asana is all about action. So what we need to do in the very first best practice, it seems quite simple, and I have a whole bunch of just various demo tasks here, but you'll notice one thing all of these tasks have in common, and that is they all begin with a verb. They all begin with a verb. This is hugely important, and so much so that I would actually say make it a rule across the entire organization, and give your team members permission to call one another out if they break this rule. Instead of having a class or instead of having a task that just says budget, unless that is a reference task, we need to always begin that task with a verb. Why? Because it provides context for what we're trying to accomplish. I can have a task called budget, or I can have a task called brochure, as we mentioned before, but without that verb, I don't know what the action is supposed to be. Is it design the brochure? Is it edit the brochure? Is it approve the brochure? Is it print the brochure? Is it distribute it? Is it advertise? What is the verb? How do we know what we're supposed to do? And a lot of times what will happen is we'll go ahead and assign this to various people, and it'll show up in their task list, their to-do list, and now they have to use mental power to figure out what in the world am I supposed to be doing with this brochure. And so we want to always begin with a verb. Okay, this is a super simple one, but one that a lot of organizations just don't focus on and ask their team members to do. So just begin with a verb so that everyone knows what the action is that's supposed to happen, and always put the verb up front. Make it to be the first word in the verb so everyone has context as they read it. So best practice number 1 to make sure that personal productivity is connecting with project management is very, very simple. Begin every task with a verb. The second best practice, and we're going to go ahead and dive into a demo project just called Project ABC, and we've got some tasks that are assigned to various people, my Jesse Ryder and Fred Flintstone and various others here, Donald Kong. Okay, so we've got some tasks that are associated with individuals, and of course we're looking at our project and we see it's broken down into pretty much the classic project management phases that many projects will fall into. But here's the second best practice. The first one is always start with a verb. The second is to always make sure a task is assigned to a person. So I see several tasks here that are actionable. They're things that need to get done. Schedule, compile, mail, publish, install, and yet they have not been assigned to anybody. So what that means is perhaps somebody knows that this is their job, mail, but now they have to, go into Asana and start flipping through all of the different projects that they are part of to figure out what are the things that I am supposed to do. Asana has built this tool called My Tasks. And the point of My Tasks is to put all of the tasks associated with one person into one location. And now that one person, in this case Fred, has the opportunity to sort them and to organize them. And hopefully, if he's trained well and he knows how to use this My Tasks tool well, it will empower him to get the right things done and to prioritize things well. So right now, as we look in here, we can see a number of tasks that Fred has, and they're across the entire organization, various different projects that are here. And he can look down here and look at them, and he can sort them and group by them, etc. Of course, the problem is if I don't assign these tasks to my friend Fred, then it's not going to happen. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right now, and I'm going to take these tasks here and assign them to Fred. Now that they're assigned to him, he can come into My Tasks and he can start using this tool effectively. Now, here's the problem. Many people that I've worked with on teams with Asana, many of the individuals don't actually use this tasks list. They've created their own systems to figure out what they're supposed to do because people aren't using these 3 best practices very well. Number 1, always begin with a verb. Number 2, always assign a task to a person. And then our final best practice, again, super simple, but oftentimes just neglected, and that is to always give a task a due date. All right, always give a task a due date. So here are 4 actionable tasks. If it's a task that needs to happen, give it a due date. Make sure that people know when it's supposed to be done. And we're going to talk about some of the problems with that in just a moment. But here, again, let's look at what's going to happen with my friend Fred. Here are a number of tasks that he is responsible. He has been assigned to. But when he goes to his to-do list, that's what My Tasks is it's basically a big to-do list for an individual. You'll notice that he won't see them here because most people are going to sort their tasks. Actually, I have a recommendation that I'm going to share in another video to use custom sections to be able to really maximize the efficiency of people being able to create their to-do list the way that they need to. But many people will sort by start date or they'll sort by due date. The problem with sorting is that those tasks will just not show up on their list. So Fred is looking through his list and he's got them kind of sorted in a way that makes sense to him. And he's never going to see those tasks ever because he's always going to just look at the first, 15 or 20 tasks, the ones that are coming up that are imminent, that have a due date that's within the next few days or even couple weeks, might even be up to a month. As Fred scrolls down his list of tasks and the date moves out further and further and further from the current day, he is no longer interested in looking at these things. He knows that there are things that are forecasted way into the future and they're not priorities for him. And so what he's going to realize, or what he may never realize, is that if he were to keep scrolling and keep scrolling and keep scrolling for sometimes a long time, here are the tasks that were assigned to him on his list, and because they were never given a due date, he's never going to see them. That means they're never going to get done until someone starts crying about it. So what we want to do is make sure that we always give these tasks a due date. Always make sure that there's relevance for people as they try to individually organize their tasks and to-dos. Now everything has a to-do list and they're going to show up in here. The question that many people ask at this point is, what if I don't know the due date? What if I don't know when we're supposed to get that done? Maybe it's just so far in the future, especially when we're looking at, maybe the implementation phase. We're very, early in the stages, but we've got some things in the execution side or maybe even closing phase that we just don't even know when they're going to be getting done yet. So the answer is very simple. Ballpark it. Take a wild guess, okay? Even if you're wrong, better to have that task show up. So here's my friend Edna. Better to have this task show up on July 18th in her to-do list. Better for her to be able to see it in her task list as July starts to roll around. And then she can look at it and go, wait, oh, that task, I'm supposed to be doing that. It says July 18th, but obviously we're not going to get to it by then, so let's go ahead and push that out to July 30th or to August 12th or something like that. But we can't do that. We don't have any ability to really manage the tasks that we have if we're not forecasting them into the future. And again, this is because of this thing that I've already talked about, the gearbox of Asana. This is about making sure that those gears are coming together in such a way organizationally for everybody. Everybody has the ability to triage and to process and prioritize their tasks well. And you combine that with great systems and projects, and now we've got maximum effectiveness, maximum implementation of everything we're doing, and maximum momentum. We put that vehicle, Asana, in drive, the engine fires, and we're off. We're running. We're going 70 miles an hour. We're taking off and getting to where we want to go. You engage these three tasks, these three best practices with your team. I believe it can revolutionize what you're doing. There's many more best practices. There's a lot more that we can do, but these three are, in my opinion, the most important. All right, I hope you found this to be very meaningful and effective. If so, feel free to go ahead and put a comment. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to. And thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. Bye now.